Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
I tell you, the last time we talked to you, this was when this whole thing was coming down and showering. It felt like at any point, like it was like, oh my gosh, it's falling apart. It's going to fall apart. With every story, it almost seemed like another nail in the coffin. And this was like several weeks even before Fitial decided to step down. We were talking during the time that you were covering, the votes of impeachment for the impeachment when was it? Last month, right? Guys, it seems so long ago, but it was just last month, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
The articles of impeachment. You were kind of giving us a play-by-play, and of course we talked to you on the radio at length about it. But there is so much that has happened just between that. It was like that signaled the beginning of the end here.
Pretty much, yeah. That was definitely a one of the crucial turning points. The election last year probably was one of the major ones as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's just been there's definitely been a turning of the tides out here.
Yeah.
And so it's starting to culminate in some of the larger things, such as the governor's resignation, the impeachment of the governor, and now we're seeing criminal arrests going out for top law enforcement officers. Many believe that it's only a matter of time before it reaches to even higher levels out here, as far as arrests are concerned, and it's just
how high, how much higher?
Like you said, just putting the nails in. I believe all the way up to the level of the governor. I mean, he didn't resign for nothing, and
so you think that you think that arrests are pending, and it could go as high as the arrest of Fitial himself?
I believe so. I think that's a long time coming, and many people have been, we've been living under this cover of almost like a shroud of fear out here among the community, and we talked about that when we were discussing the articles of impeachment and how big of a factor that was for them to even bring them forward and as a political body and challenge the governor, who has had an immense amount of power and control consolidated in his office over the past 6 years. And so, yeah, it's like you said, it's like instead of the nails being put in, it's the nails being removed from this wall of like a barrier, and there's this wall of fear that he put up around his office.
That's the next thing I was going to ask you. I mean, you must feel a sense of relief that you say that some of the walls to this barrier are coming, that the nails to this barrier are coming off.
I think many in the community definitely feel that sense of relief. There was a overwhelming sense of relief when the governor resigned, and now with these arrests coming, they're just steps along a long path towards rebuilding the image of the CNMI. It's really severely been tarnished, and it hasn't been showcased a lot in news outside of the island, because of course it's a negative light, and nobody wants to focus things on negative light, especially when they involve the governmental leaders of our island. And so now, at least as the tide is turning, the spotlight is being shown out here, and people are seeing that things can change, and that if people are united and strong in their convictions, they can tackle public corruption. It seems like an unwieldy beast that can't be tackled, but we're learning on a day-to-day basis that it is possible. There are individuals. I mean, even these arrests today are coming probably with the backing of, I would assume, other uniformed officers who have come forward and said, hey, we can't take this anymore, we can't stomach it. And they've probably worked together with the Office of the Public Auditor and other investigative forces, and probably went ahead and gave them the information they needed in order to come forward with these arrests. Yeah,
well, let's go backwards a little bit. You have a sort of a personal stake in at least this chapter of the Fitial story, because this goes back to a time where you and Tina happened to be watching this all go down. This is the Port Authority's chief of police, a police captain, a ports police officer. So far are the three people who have been arrested for allegedly helping to, I guess the word that was used by the Saipan Tribune is shield Buckingham from being served this penal summons. Now you and Tina, who is also a journalist, by the way, she's a reporter for KSPN.
That's correct.
Right. You, the two of you, had been at the airport at the time this was all going down. This is This is really made for TV stuff. This is August 6th, right? It's a Monday. I'm sorry. No, that was August 6th. It was sometime in August, was it?
You had the right date, August 5th. It was early mornings of August 5th.
Oh, okay, August 5th.
Yeah, so roughly around that time, early in the morning at the airport, and we had both received tips that there was a chance the Attorney General, who was supposed to receive a criminal summons, a penal summons, was headed to the airport to catch an early morning flight out of the island.
Okay, and so you received the tip, and then did you see like, was it like a motorcade that came through? Did it look like an official motorcade of people coming in?
You know, it was really interesting. It was somewhat surreal. We headed up to the airport early in order to, and in all honesty, when you hear that the Attorney General is running from a penal summons, you think that's almost ludicrous. And probably not true, but the tips were pretty solid. Mm-hmm. And so when we headed up there, I remember one of the first things I saw, and the flight was scheduled to leave at 6. Check-in would have been at, about 4 or 5 a.m. We were up there maybe at about 3:30ish or somewhere around there. And when we pulled up around the terminal to where check-in and departure takes place, there were a large number of police. I vaguely remember about 5 police cars, and we have a small turnaround point, so they made an impact on either side of the terminal area at the top. And so when I saw that, honestly, my initial reaction, first off, was that they were there doing the same thing we were. They got the tip, and they were there to, serve the penal summons to the fleeing former AG. Mm-hmm.
Well, he wasn't at this time. It didn't think that you didn't think it was fleeing. I mean, didn't he already plan for a 3-week vacation anyway?
No. What ended up happening is the timeline that played out is he supposedly gave his resignation a few months earlier. That's what he said to KSPN reporters in an interview, and that he was resigning and that he was leaving the CNMI. That was scheduled to be the following day or 2 days later. But what he ended up doing was, I guess, word got out that a penal summons was going out for him that day, and instead of accepting the criminal summons, because it's just a summons to show up in court, it wasn't an arrest warrant or anything of that nature. I guess rather than dealing with that, he was his own words from some people that were in earshot distance, so it's hearsay here, but was that he was ordered to leave the island on that flight. Who ordered him, who knows? But he definitely was leaving the island prematurely. Okay,
all right. Yeah. So you're up there, and you're thinking all the cops are there because he's trying to flee.
Sure. That was my initial reaction at first, and so later on we found out that it was not the case. The cop cars up there and the officers involved were shielding him from the service of the criminal summons, and that's what's resulted in this arrest today. It was a misuse of authority. It was an abuse of power. It was, and I really feel for, the officers, the uniformed officers that were being ordered to break the law. I mean, they were put in just a terrible position, and I hope that they all come forward too.
Do you guys still have that video? Because doesn't Tina trying to take video at the same time?
Oh, yes. Yeah, she took video. She was manhandled by the cops to get her out of the way.
You have all that on tape as well?
Yeah, it's all on tape, and I'm sure it was part of the investigation.
Now, was it in part of the investigation? Were you guys part of the investigation? Because I don't think there was anybody else up there, right?
Well,
who witnessed it?
I personally filed complaints, months ago. This has been over 7 months ago now, right. And I personally filed complaints with all the authorities in hopes that something would be done. I think what was hard for me to stomach over the past 7 months were these individuals, the ones that you mentioned. You're talking about a port's captain, a port's chief. You're talking about an acting DPS commissioner. I mean, you're talking about top-ranking law enforcement officers that not only did they do this and it was captured on tape and it was definitely violations of the law, but then they were not held accountable. They were allowed to continue in their position of authority and allowed to continue to oversee law enforcement agencies. And that's the part that was driving me a little bit nuts. And if there's any personal stake I have in it, that's what it is. I don't think that was right. Yeah. I wish that the people above them, the people in charge at CPA, the people involved at DPS at the time took some measure to put them on administrative leave, to take them out of positions of power and authority. And it's sad that it took an arrest to make that happen. That's ridiculous. And there are people that oversee the Commonwealth Ports Authority that could have taken measures prior to this. So over the last 7 months, you had people that blatantly violated the law, that maintained their position of authority. And I'm glad that maybe this arrest will at least send a message to, you know, that fear that everybody had, that, oh, we can't do anything about it, is nonsense.
Well, what has happened? I mean, has there been any fallout from that? You and Tina experienced any fallout from having been witness to the event and calling out these officers?
You know, I mean, it's no matter what, there's going to be a little bit of backlash. Tina's a journalist. She does that. That's her forte, and this is something that she feels passionate about as well. So she's willing to take on any backlash. And myself, I've always, you know, my heart is with these islands, and I really just want to see an end to the public corruption. I know that's a lofty goal, but I don't think that, you know, our tax dollars should be funding people's personal, private gain at the expense of the community. And so there's prices we pay for speaking up, and sadly that's still the case. What I hope is that people realize that those price, you know, the price we might pay from the backlash we take for calling out corruption when we see it is small in comparison to the reward of a safer community to live in.
What have you
government.
Sorry to interrupt you, but what have you experienced?
I mean, my story is like a side note to this. Is more, you know, it's tangential. I lost my job, and I was subject to political pressure from the last administration, and they were stupid enough, and I'll use that word, to put it in writing that my political stances on of anti-corruption was worth me being suspended. I challenged that, and they retracted the suspension, only to follow it up with 2 months later, I guess giving some time to pass, with a termination.
Where were you working, Glenn?
Oh gosh, I was working with the Trans-Pacific group of companies that
at the time
some of them might some might sponsor your program. So it was a
oh, that's right, yeah.
It was a decision made by the past administration and people I'd labeled their thugs. And it's common practice out here, and it's gone on. I'm not alone. There's many people that have lost their jobs because of their political stances they've taken, and that's how they maintained control for so long.
But you're no longer. I mean, you're working in another place now. I mean, you're.
I'm currently unemployed, but it wasn't a harm to me. I don't want people in the community to ever feel afraid. I mean, that's always a chance. It shouldn't be a chance, and I think going forward, people are going to realize that. And I think that's what we're witnessing today, is the dawn of a new CNMI. A CNMI that where things like that won't happen. When one of the governor's officials comes to a private, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, when one of the government officials comes to a private business owner and asks him to remove somebody from employment, that private business owner will say, "No, you don't tell me what to do." I mean, what kind of government are we paying for? And I think going forward, that's what will happen. More and more businesses will stand up and say, "No, we don't have to submit to this level of fear coming from any administration." And it wasn't just this last administration. This last administration probably was more blatant about it. They were more vindictive. They were more open and more candid, and that's what probably bit them in the butt here.
See, I didn't realize that you had been terminated from your job. I don't think that I knew that the last time we talked.
Oh, no problem. Like, I mean, it's one of those things. It was irritating to me. I think the main point I wanted to get by when I made it public when it happened was just to let people know that it did happen, and I shared with them the supporting documents that proved that it was based on my political stance. I mean, they actually put it in writing, and I think I just wanted to expose it so that way other businesses out here realize that maybe. You know, a lot of people have told me, well, why don't you sue them? You have a good, solid case. I'm not in it for personal enrichment, and the truth is, they weren't doing me a favor by hiring me. In my mind, it's going to sound egotistical, but I was doing them a favor by working for them, and I think the loss was bigger on their side, and just exposing it and making sure that other people don't have to suffer the same consequence.
Well, you
in the future is more important.
And so now you have, they have arrested 3 officers, but you also mentioned the deputy commissioner, but the deputy and his role in this, but the deputy commissioner, Ambrosio Ugamoro? Ogamuro?
At the airport, that's why I mentioned him. I don't know if there's arrest warrants out for him. I don't know for him.
All right.
I do know that rumor has it that as of yesterday morning, he fled he left the island.
Well, I heard that he had gone. He left to Canada for on an official trip.
That's the rumor that we're hearing, is that
is he coming back?
He and his wife had left to Canada. I don't know if it's been confirmed. I do have people that saw him leave at the airport, so I visibly have people that have saw him left yesterday morning. So he definitely left the island. Where he's at and how long he's going to be away and what's the cause of his trip is.
They say De Leon Guerrero said that it was he told the Saipan Tribune that he left for Canada on Tuesday morning for an official trip.
Wow. Okay. So then I guess that would be the state. So I guess we'll know when he comes back if he'll be held responsible as well. Yeah. I would personally I would hope so, just because he visibly, from when I was up there, was one of the main ones calling the shots, and he was taking his orders from someone to shield aid.
And there might also be one police officer who may turn state's witness, because he apparently sources are saying that he said that his orders came directly from Fitial to stay away from, or stay out of the way, and not serve this penal summons.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of knew that was the case, and it was good that now they're getting people coming forward. And I think that's what that's what I've always been advocating for, is for some people within these departments to kind of push aside the fear and just come forward and tell the truth. I mean, there's no reason why. I mean, and it wasn't just the administration itself. I mean, you got people in the office of the Attorney General's office out here that have witnessed stuff that probably is very questionable in the past as well. Maybe now they'll feel the confidence and to come forward and reveal some of the stuff that they have, so that they can be corrected, and going forward, people don't have to live under that kind of repressed, unjust.
Gosh, you guys get all the good stories. You know, you had Hillblom, you got the Abramoff, you got Buckingham, you got all the intriguing, dramatic stories. We
definitely keep it interesting.
I tell you what, jeez, all eyes on the CNMI right now. So where does this bring you? Are you going to be a witness to this in this investigation? Have they called on you to be a witness because of your
well, I've already provided testimony, and I've already provided complaints, and I've pretty much put out what the knowledge I have. If I'm called as a witness, I'll gladly accept. Right now, they have them scheduled to face the judge here in about a minute, so I'm going to go in and at least watch that and see. I believe that would probably be setting a bail. Maybe.
Okay, I thought they were.
I'll go in and I'll take a peek at this, and then you can call me later.
Text me too. You still got that one number, or is that no longer?
I just sent you the number. The number you called me at now is
okay. Fine. I can because I texted you at that other number you gave me, and that I didn't get.
That one is off. Yeah.
That one is no longer in your care. Okay, so this one I have for you is the number that I could text and everything.
That's correct.
All right, awesome. Glenn, just text me. You have my number, right?
Will do.
Okay, text me and let me know what happens in the court proceedings. But I guess you're breathing a sigh of relief that this is not nearly over, but at least it's being played out in a process that's more palatable.
Correct, and I just wanted, like, before I get off the air with you, I just want to thank, like, there are some people out here that are doing some stuff that's honestly never been done before. So the Office of the Public Auditor is taking on a prosecutorial role. I'm torturing the word, and doing stuff that should be commended. All their investigators, any officers that are coming forward as witnesses, all the DPS officers that are helping out. I mean, it's just many thanks coming from the community, myself included.
All right, Glenn, I gotta shove off here, but I'll wait on your text. I appreciate your time.
Okay.
All right, take care. All right, anytime. Have a good day.